For this video, I'm going to be talking about a game by the name of Sea of Solitude. Now, I'm going to start with some caveats here. First and foremost, I have not been paid to do a review. I paid for this copy of the game all on my own. I'm doing this independently just because, if I'm being honest, I really enjoyed the game. Spoiler alert, but I'll get to that in a moment. And the other thing I need to mention is that this is not like other games that I traditionally showcase on my channel. While I absolutely love my card games, and I certainly adore strategy games and things of the like, believe it or not, I play other games, and I love quality story-driven games, and this is one that I've had my eye on for a while, and when it finally came out, I was excited to give it a try, but I had a lot going on and I needed to travel for QuakeCon, so I needed to wait until all of that was done. So I'm home, I've had a chance to play through the game, and I kinda love it. I think this game was very, very fantastic. So here are some details. The game is published by JO-MEI. That's a small indie developer. Now, this was published through an EA program, so it's going to look like it's getting a much larger production value, if you will, but the reality is this was a small independent studio that did create this game. Now, the game itself is available on PC, Xbox, and PS4. I played it on PC. I bought it through the Origin store for 20 bucks, and it is a story-driven game that deals with some really heavy elements. The game, if I'm being honest, right, like if I had to sum up what the game was about, if somebody said, like, give me 5 words that describe the story of Sea of Solitude, I would say depression, guilt, bullying, divorce, and letting go. And if that's not a heavy set of 5 words, I don't know what is. And yet, the game, in my opinion, really captures these elements incredibly well. It does throw you some curveballs because it does so through metaphors, right? They're amazing metaphors. So as far as the game goes, you are playing a character by the name of Kay, and Kay essentially wakes up in a boat and looks like a monster, and Kay has to confront other monsters in this Sea of Solitude, and these represent Kay essentially confronting the monsters of her own life in order to find some happiness or some closure. And as I said before, these monsters can represent her own depression, her own feelings of guilt. They can represent her own voices in her head that cast doubts on her actions, that chastise her for her choices. The monsters can represent other people in her life. For example, don't want to spoil too much here, but there are some much larger monsters that represent family members or, loved ones, and how these monsters kind of manifest and how you interact with them in the game is really interesting. At least I found it interesting, and this is the kind of game that I think at its core is one that you get what you put into it. If you really kind of lose yourself in the story and kind of immerse yourself in the experience, it can be very touching. And I know that's gonna sound weird coming from me because a lot of the jokes are, that I'm a robot and that I have no emotion and things of the like. You have heard me mention in the past, I struggle with a lot of things on my own, and this game kind of hit me. It's, like I said, it's full of amazing metaphors. It's got a very touching musical score. It's got beautiful scenery, some breathtaking imagery. It does a fantastic job, I think, of using the setting to convey mood. And all I can say is Cornelia Geppert, so she's the director of like art and creative at JO-MEI, and primary writer for this thing. All I can say is that this game, this process of creating this, was probably equal parts incredibly cathartic and terrifying, because this is a very deeply personal story, and it's now been released, and thousands of people are going through what are likely her own experiences and feeling the ways that she has felt, and it's got to be unnerving to kind of expose yourself on that level. But I gotta say bravo to Cornelia, because in doing so, in my opinion, she's created a very touching game experience. And again, not the sort of game that I traditionally showcase or play or feature on my channel, but I wanted to do a review for this because, again, I just kind of found the experience very unique and compelling. As far as actual gameplay goes, you are presented sometimes with some puzzles. There is certainly a lot of like exploration that is featured. For example, as you're playing through, it gives you some incentive to go find these messages in a bottle or shoo away these seagulls. And so there is some exploration components. There are some puzzles that you have to solve. But the reality is there are not many of these. And when you are presented with them, they aren't necessarily terribly difficult, because I think the game wants you to focus on the experience. These puzzles are a way to kind of give you something to do and engage you throughout, but the primary thing that they want you to be engaged with is how it feels and the dialogue and just internalizing it. And I think that the game does a fantastic job of that. So like I said, it's $20. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Gameplay wise, it took me around 3 hours to complete, but I'm very glad that I experienced this game. And it's not going to be for everybody. I'm going to be upfront. There's going to be plenty of people that would be, I imagine, bored with this sort of game. They have no desire to explore their own feelings or trauma or things of that nature. But for me, this was a very, very gripping story. I sat down to kind of start playing it because I wanted to just get some clips, because again, I knew at some point I was going to do some sort of review video. And the next thing I know, it was 3 hours later and I had completed the game. And that might be the best praise that I can give any game, is that I was unable to put it down once I got started. So anyway, as I've been talking, there should have been edited by me in some amazing gameplay clips so that you can kind of see the art style and the feel and so forth. And, you know, if it's the sort of thing that interests you, I encourage you to check it out. I'd love to know what you think. I think at some point I might even post my own playthrough. There will be no commentary because I was just recording the gameplay at the time, because like I said, I sat down and I wanted to get some clips for this video, and then I finished the game. So maybe at some point I'll post my playthrough, but there won't be commentary or anything. It would just be for the experience. So yeah, if you made it this far, I appreciate you listening to my Pseudo review. I'm not going to give this a ranking. I'm not going to say that I give this a 9 out of 10 or 4 out of 5 stars or anything like that, because the reality is this one is going to be really subjective. And as I said before, I think that you get what you put into a game like this, and if you really try to internalize it, I think you can get a lot out of it. And this is absolutely not the kind of game that is going to be for everybody. So please, take these suggestions and reflect on them, know yourself, because that's going to, make the difference in my mind as to whether or not you're going to enjoy this kind of game. So anyway, this is my Pseudo review, and if you made it this far, thanks for watching. I hope to catch you in the next video. I got to start getting better about reminding people to, do all the YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, yada yada. So do those things, please. Thank you. Anyway, I love you all. See you next time.